Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to film like an updated favourites video. The first one I filmed was actually my first ever YouTube video. That was around 6 months ago. I feel like 6 months feels so little time. I feel like I've been doing this for like longer, but at the same time I feel like 6 months has flown by. Lots happened. I've left London. Recently some exciting things have happened. I've recently got a job promotion at work, which was very exciting. And last week I passed my driving test. I started when I lived at home when I was like 16, 17, like at the time my boyfriend drove, at the time my best friends drove, then I left to go to uni. And when I was at home I like lived in the town centre, I wasn't like out where I couldn't get about. Then I went to uni, then I moved to London, so driving has just been something that I kind of like paused. But when I started thinking about maybe moving out of London was when I was thinking, okay, like, I need to be able to drive. This is the time. So yeah, so I feel like what I've actually achieved in the past 6 months actually is a lot. Like my YouTube I'm really enjoying, work is great, I'm living in a brand new flat with my sister and everything's good here. Like, life is good. But what I wanted to do today, let's go back to the makeup, is I wanted to just go over kind of what my favourites were. I do have some still the same. Like 6 months isn't really a long time for like things to completely change. But because I have kind of been on a bit more of an intense makeup journey because of filming, I have probably tried out more products in the past 6 months than I necessarily would have, like on a quicker scale, if that makes sense. So happy 6 month YouTube anniversary to me, and yeah, let's get into it. So to start off with primers, before I used in the original video, I'll link that video below. It is my first YouTube video. I feel like I'm a bit shy in it, but we move. But yeah, I use VIEVE Skin Nova, and this is still something that I do use. I use this more on kind of no makeup days now, and I use it more, not more as a skincare, do I? Yeah, I use this probably more as a skincare than a primer now. I would kind of use this before and then kind of get into my primers. Or like I said, use it on like no makeup days, so I just use this, a bit of concealer. So yeah, this is still an amazing product. I've seen that she's brought out like a massive size, which to be honest, when I run out of this, I'll probably buy the bigger version because it is really lovely. But now, the primers that I kind of gravitate towards are my e.l.f. CC, it's a bit grimy, sorry, my e.l.f. CC Putty Primer, and then my e.l.f. Halo Glow. These are the kind of two that I kind of will reach for. So I'm just going to pop on some of the CC Putty Primer. What I like about this over the Skin Nova is I feel like it does brighten my skin, and I feel like because I'm so pale, I find that my skin can look a bit dull, and so I really like how this, yeah, almost like lifts my skin. And I think that the kind of like putty formula, my skin likes it. It gives it hydration, like the right kind of hydration. So I do have still quite bad skin. I can't get into kind of, because I'm travelling back and forth, I basically work up in London in the week and I stay in an Airbnb, which is lovely. I don't have, even though I do have a routine, my skincare routine during those 3 days goes out the window. I don't know what it is, because I've been staying there now for months. When I'm at home, my routine is on point, but when I'm there, it isn't. And it really messes up my skin, not having those few days of doing the routine that I should be. So that's like a new mid-year goal, is to really try and work on my skincare, because I used to have really great skin and at the moment it's just not great. And I don't really wear makeup in the week, so it's not that I'm like over wearing or like clogging my skin up. I know my skincare isn't right at the minute. Next, my e.l.f. Halo Glow. I think this, do you know how everyone's using the Drunk Elephant, whatever they're called, tanning drops? For me, what I want to do, this always does kind of give me a bit of tan. I think this, if you got it in a few shades darker, is a dupe. Because I know the bronzing drops have been sold out. And obviously they're Drunk Elephant, so they're expensive. I feel like people are trying to like make dupes for it, but I feel like this kind of does what it looks like it does for other people. This is only a shade darker, so it doesn't give me too much of a tan, but it definitely gives me like colour back into my face. I think in the summer this and concealer is going to be my kind of day to day, because it just gives me life back into my face. And I just think this is now the perfect base for me to kind of work on top of. This is shade 2. I want to get shade 1 and I want to get shade 3, and I want to kind of like play with them. And I think this combination of primer works well if I'm going out as well. What I would do is I would now put on like a grippier primer, but kind of day to day this is what I would go with. Right, next we're going to do foundation. And actually, so this was the NARS Sheer Glow in Mont Blanc. This is still my favourite. I don't know what it is. People don't really rave about it or talk about it as much as I think they should. But what I do now is I take the MAC-STROBE Dewy Skin Tint and I now mix them together. So I'm just going to dab on a tiny bit of this. We're not going to go too crazy because this is kind of like everyday makeup, not like full glam. So I do feel like you do have to, I do have to mix up my makeup for full glam. And I'm just dotting this Strobe Dewy Skin Tint. And I am just going to take a brush. This is one of my favourite brushes. It's the kind of like diamondy one from Morphe. This is the V102. I'm just going to roughly blend this out. And I just love the coverage and how this wears. I think it's full coverage but feels lightweight. It wears lovely, like it wears so pretty throughout the day. I don't feel like it separates. And the colour, so even though I do like the light reflecting and the long wear, I have Mont Blanc in everything, but I personally feel like it's not the same colour. I feel like with the long wear and the light reflecting, the colour is slightly warmer and slightly darker. I'm just going to go with my sponge now and just kind of smooth that all in and like press it in. Yeah, I feel like with the other ones, and it is literally the tiniest difference, but there is a difference. So I feel like this one from the Sheer Glow one is the perfect kind of neutral, and it doesn't oxidise. And yeah, the light reflecting one for me, like by the end of the day, only a little bit, but it kind of separates, you know, just around your nose, mouth, because I sneeze a lot. I need something that isn't gonna separate around my nose. Like, obviously it's not gonna be perfect, but yeah, I just think my skin looks so nice. Yeah, and this MAC-STROBE Dewy Skin Tint, this is in light 1. I do want to get a slightly darker colour in that, because again, I think for summer, now that I live by the beach, I'm hoping I'll get a tan this year. Skin is just looking, and it feels not heavy. It looks full coverage. The colour, yeah, so that still is number 1 for me. Okay, so for the concealer, last time I used these two, so to actually like conceal under the eyes and stuff, I used the nude sticks. This is still a firm favourite, but what I enjoy now is I will kind of go between the two, but I do love the VIEVE Modern Radiance concealer, and they're both quite hydrating. The nude sticks one is a tiny bit more hydrating, but this gives good hydration but also great coverage. I like mixing this in with skin tints and stuff, or for no makeup days I would use this because again it's got that hint more coverage. So yeah, so nude sticks is still up there. I definitely go between the two. Okay, so I'm just going to put on this concealer. But yeah, it's interesting, like I go back to watching my first few videos and I feel like the confidence I have now with filming, it's crazy the difference, even in 6 months. But I guess back then I was scared. Don't know what I was scared about, but you are just putting yourself on the internet for people to judge, and I think that's what stopped me doing YouTube for such a long time, was I just thought I would get like judged and people would have this kind of opinion, and it's like, first of all, people might judge me, but I don't see any of it, so it's just not something I even think about anymore. And I guess maybe it's an age thing, like I kind of, when you are in your early 20s, you do like care more. And I'm knocking on 30's door, and I just don't care. Like, obviously I care, but I just don't care if people have negative opinions. Not something I like focus my time on. But yeah, that concealer is stunning. And yeah, it's hydrating. I don't feel like I've got loads of product on underneath my eyes. And yeah, I'm very full coverage actually, which isn't a bad thing. Lower full coverage. I've been like seeing on the internet that like 2016 makeup is making a comeback. I will never be a crazy colourful girl, but I'm here for the looks, the like dramaticness. Yeah, like a full coverage moment. I think we've done the whole soft vibe, and now it's time to show makeup off to its fullest. Okay, so for like bronzing and like cream, I did use, in that video I used the Revolution XX cream bronzer. This is an Inspire, and this is still, again, it is something I use, but I now use these two a lot more. So we've got the Fenty Beauty Cream Bronzer in Amber, which is the perfect contour shade. It is basically grey, a brownie taupey grey. I love this. And then the REFY Cream Bronzer, this is in June. Again, this is a really lovely shade. To be honest, yeah, this has got more yellow in and this is more red. So it's a bit more earthy. And I just think these two work really well together. This is so cool tone that I get this kind of sculpt and contour that I want. And then this colour, even though it looks quite like it's got a bit of red in, it just doesn't come across orange. And neither did the Revolution one. But I just think these two work really nice together. So they just are kind of things I just gravitate towards. I do wish this was in a slightly smaller packet as well. Like, I think I enjoy taking this one, even though they're similar size. This is like glass, and even though it's nice, when I'm going away, it's kind of bulky to take away. So I feel like I would use this more if it was a bit more slimlined. I'm just going to take some of the Fenty, and this is on like an angled peach zoom. Am I going to use this actually? I'm going to use my kabuki brush from Makeup by Ariel. This is the A24 brush. And I'm just going to kind of just push this in the back. I kind of blow out my contour because I think when things aren't like super harsh and structured on my skin, it just, and face shape, I think it just looks, for me it actually looks a bit more slimming when it's all kind of blown out. And I do kind of put it where I'm going to put my cream bronzer. I almost use it as like a base, so it's given me kind of that colour back a tiny bit under here, a tiny bit just on the end of my nose. And I'm going to use the same brush and kind of just dab into the REFY and just go over where I put that contour, and it just warms it up a hint, but nothing like crazy. Right, last time I didn't actually use cream blush. I was not, when I first started doing YouTube, I wasn't into my blush at all. Slowly I've gotten into it more and more. So I am going to take my REFY in Malaya. This colour is kind of like a pinky, kind of dark, but when it goes on it isn't. Like, it's something that I can put on and I can see I've got blush on, but it's nothing overpowering. I find it very easy to use. I find the colour flattering, and the component, as it's so small, it's very easy. So I feel like this is more, no, the colour is pretty, but I feel like it's more the formula that I like of this, and kind of how it's slightly there. You can see I got blush on, but it's not anything crazy. So yeah, so I think I kind of reach for this. I do also like the e.l.f. Putty blushes. They are actually a tiny bit more pigmented, so I kind of wear them more if I am doing like a glamour look. But like day to day, this is just so subtle that I enjoy it. But yeah, last time I didn't even use cream blush, so we can tell I've moved on. Last time for powder I used the MAC Mineralize, which I do still gravitate towards. It's a really lovely powder, but recently I have been loving my Kosas Cloud Set. I love how this looks under the eyes. I think it's really lovely, and it's slightly shimmery, like, but I don't want to say it's got glitter in, but it does have glitter in. I know that kind of like glowing powder isn't everyone's kind of cup of tea, but I really like it. It's not obvious at all. I'm actually just gonna set my whole face with this because I'm not gonna bake today. But yeah, I just think this powder it wears really nicely. It's blurring. It's very finely milled. Your face doesn't look super powdery. You can put loads on and you're not like caked up. Sometimes I find if I take this out with me on a night out or something, sometimes by the end of the night I look a bit cakey where I've applied like, where I've applied like loads of this. With the Kosas, it's very hard to like make it look cakey. But the MAC Mineralize is still something that I use to kind of put under the eyes, because on like a full coverage day, because your eyes aren't budging. The Charlotte Tilbury FILMSTAR bronzer was my favourite and still is my favourite bronzer. I've hit pan, and yeah, it is just the perfect tone. and I still haven't found, I've spoken about it in my previous videos, haven't found a powder bronzer that doesn't look orange. I find like little ones that are similar, but yeah, this one from Charlotte Tilbury, it's part of like the duo. I've said it many times before, I wish they just had this one by itself. Yeah, it's got a slight shimmer, it's a perfect tone, and I just haven't found something that is fully comparable with it yet. I feel like I need to start really trying to find one. I do kind of look for them, but I feel like it's something that I need to start really trying to find. For brows, I used to use Benefit, and I still do use Benefit, but I've kind of like switched over a tiny bit. I do find Benefit's components very easy to use, so if I'm travelling or like going away, I will still kind of grab them because they're just easy. But if I'm here, I go and I use my Bare Brows from Unicorn Cosmetics with a little spoolie, and I now use Airbrow from Kosas. I just really like the brush on this. The formula's very nice, it doesn't transfer, it's just a very easy product, and I now use the REFY brow pencil. I did used to use this a long time ago, and then I kind of finished using it and just never replaced it, and then I just kind of moved on to Benefit because I was kind of using all Benefit products. I'm a bit of like a brand loyal. I'm loyal to brands sometimes. But I kind of got this back and kind of fell back in love with it. So I'm just going to quickly just zoom through my brows. I kind of have done this in a lot of my previous videos. So yeah, so I'm just going to do them. So now we have it, brows are done. I still do like kind of like a big brow. I feel like this colour is really nice. I really like how these products work together. I think that's maybe again why I kind of gravitate to using them. This keeps your brows looking fab all day. These two, yeah, they work really well together, and the REFY pencil for me is kind of the perfect colour with kind of my natural hair, and I find it's not too creamy so that you're kind of like wobbling all over the place, putting too much product down, but it's not something that you have to like warm up to kind of get to work. It's kind of the perfect consistency. So yeah, for eyeshadow primer I still use the VIEVE Eye Wand. This is in vanilla, and I just I think it's very convenient being in a stick form. It gives me coverage, but it's kind of just a kind of perfect amount of coverage. I just think it's a great product. I do have the NARS eyeshadow primer, but it doesn't have a lot of coverage. But if I'm doing like a full glam eye with lots of detail, I'll kind of put this on first, then I'll use the NARS one. But again, I just think this coverage and like the ease of using it is just super great. So that has not changed, and neither has my favourite palette. This is the Forever Flawless palette, and it's the cool tone one, but it just has every single colour, like all of the neutrals. So we've got this kind of brownie neutral colour. This one I use all the time. This one I use all the time. Dark one. If I want something slightly warmer, this one. And the shimmers are all kind of the colours and tones that I would use. So I do really love my VIEVE 90s palette. That's creeping up there, but this just has so many more, like so many more colours. I do like the VIEVE ones. If I was being picky, I would make the pans tiny bit smaller, and I would add maybe 2 or even 4 extra shades. I feel like they're good, and the formulation is good, but I just would like a tiny bit more of a colour story and a bit more like diversity in the colours. So yeah, I think for the price, the consistency and formula of these are great. So yeah, these are still my favourites. I'm just going to kind of do an all over. Am I? Yeah. I'm just going to take a fluffy brush and kind of just put Fantasy kind of all over my eye. I love a cool tone eyeshadow palette. I really want to get, I've seen a few out there at the moment, so I want to kind of get those in and kind of do a review of all my favourite like cool tone palettes. So I'm just kind of putting this all over the eye. I know this is an everyday look, so I'm not doing anything too crazy, but I'm just going to kind of use this plush colour, which is a shimmer, and I'm just going, which is actually kind of like a warmish champagne, and I'm just going to use this as like a wash kind of all over the eye. So it's nothing crazy, but it kind of looks like a one and done kind of eyeshadow. But as you can see, it's not too like standy out there. It's kind of a very like neutral shimmer, which I just think very pretty. In my first favourites, I used liquid eyeliner. This is still my favourite liquid eyeliner, but now I don't really use liquid eyeliner. I usually just grab the angle brush and one of the dark tones in this palette. I'm just going to do a little like wing with the shadow. I think I just prefer the softness. You can just tap it out a bit and just make it work. I'm just going to take a thinner brush, like a skinny, no, I'm not going to take that one, like a skinny, like flatter brush, and I'm just going to take Desire, which is this darker colour, just run this under my eyes. I think for the, what I like about this palette is I love the price, it's very affordable, but for me, there's just not a look I can't do with it. If I want something super cool tone, it's got that. If I want something that to add a bit of warmth, it's got that. It's in like a metal case, it's easy to travel with. If I want something super shimmery and glam, you can do that. So yeah, pretty. I've seen they brought out like a new one. It's kind of like a pink, it is a warm tone. I have the pink one and I have this one, and there's one that's kind of more like salmony and peachy, which I'd like to try, so I might grab that. Yeah, next we've got mascara, and I used back then the They're Real Magnet Mascara by Benefit, and again this is still up there. There's nothing that I used back then that has completely like left my makeup routine. I just think some things have kind of like creeped just above it, and for mascara it would have to be this MAC-STACK mascara. I'm really into a clumpy lash at the minute, and I know that's very like hit or miss for some people. But this gives me the kind of perfect clumpy lash without being like too clumpy. I feel like I'm contradicting myself. But it kind of gives you the perfect clump, if there is a perfect clump. So, what I didn't do back then was curl my lashes, which I now do. So I'm just going to give my lash a little bit of a curl. I saw a TikTok the other day where this girl like did it upside down, but that just feels really unnatural, so I'm not even going to try and do that. But yeah, this is the MAC-STROBE. This is just in the black one. And I feel like this wears quite well. I feel like it doesn't really smudge or kind of like leave residue around my eye. So that's just with one coat up. And can you see what I mean about the perfect clump? They're kind of separated, but all of your lashes are kind of like a bit clumped together. So yeah, I feel like Lash Freak does that from Urban Decay, and I do enjoy that mascara too. I just can't get on with the wand. And I think that when I do wear a half lash, if I'm doing kind of like a bit more of a glam look, they blend really well with this mascara. So yeah, so I do still love this Benefit one, and it is still something I use now and again, but the MAC one just gives me that extra oomph, I guess. Lips. And back then, well, up until the Kylie video I filmed, Lavender and Lace from NYX was my go-to. I filmed my Kylie look, and now I use Sandstorm, and I've been changed over. It's the same like type of pencil. It's just their suede matte lip liners. This is just a bit more. Let me put them on my hands. So we've got Sandstorm and then the Lavender and Lace. So Sandstorm is just that hint browner, and then Lavender and Lace has got a bit of like a pinkier hue. So, but they're similar like depth of colour, if that makes sense. Like similar lightness. But this has just got that brown undertone. Super pretty. And then for gloss, I used then the matte lip cream in London, and again still something I use all the time. But now what I would do with this is I love these Milky glosses from NYX. This is in Chocolate Shake, and I'm just gonna dab over, not a lot of product, just rub together. And it's almost lip oil like, but it's just giving my lips a wash of colour. And yeah, I guess it's a tiny bit more glam than I was last time. I feel like I went a bit more glam with the eyeshadow. But when I say day to day, I mean like if I was actually like doing something, like if I was meeting a friend for lunch or kind of doing something where I needed to have makeup on. But yeah, this is kind of the look. I think it's turned out really cute, and yeah, it's been fun. It's fun to kind of look back over products that I kind of used to use. Like I didn't really even think any would be the same. There are some products that I have been using a lot that I started to use through my YouTube journey, which I kind of knew were going to be in this video. Diversifying my brands a little bit more, which again is through kind of testing and like buying in more makeup than I would have been before. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Enjoyed throwing it back a bit. 6 months. Hope you enjoyed this. If you do want to check out my first favourites video and first YouTube video. I'll leave it linked. I was shyer back then, but it's nice to see as well like how far I've kind of come in filming and things like that. Like I said, there are most of the products that were my favourites are still things I reach for all the time. Hope you enjoyed this. I would love it if you would like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And yeah, I'll see you again soon.